Xenia, the founder of Threads. Welcome to another episode of Threads Office Hours, where we take deep dives and answer your questions about products, styling, behind the scenes, anything goes. If you have a question that you want me to answer on a future episode, please submit it at the link in the comments. Let's get started. So our first question of the day is a question that we get pretty frequently, but we actually wish that you guys would ask us this question more because it's very important. And the question is, how do you properly take care of your tights? So I think this is a very important question because regardless of which brand you're buying, proper use and care will ensure that you get the most mileage out of your tights. So to answer this question, I like to break it down into three parts. So I would say there's use, and then there's storage, and then there's laundering or washing. So let's start with use first. So this includes how you wear them, how you put them on, that whole thing. So I want to also mention that not all tights are the same. So something that's a 5 to 10 denier is going to be a lot more fragile and thin than something that's like a 80 or 100 denier. Basically, the higher the denier, the thicker and sort of, the tighter the weave. I will do another video later that talks a little bit more about denier, but for now, I would just think about, the higher denier, the ones that are like, more opaque. Our opaque contour tights are a 60 versus our sheer contour tights are like a 20. So with that in mind, some tips for use. So when putting them on, I would make sure that you don't really have any sharp rings, you don't have any hangnails or really long jaggedy nails. These objects can really affect the way you put them on and, whether or not it rips and so on. Now, after you have them on, as you're wearing them, I would make sure that you don't have any of the common enemies of tights around. So what do I mean by that? So things like Velcro, big enemy. Velcro is known to really snag on fabric, not just tights, but even if you're wearing like a cotton white t-shirt and you have a piece of Velcro that keeps rubbing on, eventually there will be a hole in that piece of fabric. So Velcro is an enemy. Wood splinters, that's another enemy. So if you're sitting on a bench that's untreated wood, probably don't advise doing that if you are wearing like a 5 to 10 denier pair of pantyhose. Another common culprit that we hear is sometimes people are wearing boots in the winter, and depending on the style and the types of boots you're wearing, the inside could actually be quite rough. So a way that I like to sort of get around this, again, if you are wearing a pair that's like 5 to 10 denier, is put on a pair of socks over your tights before you put on those shoes, because that's really going to protect the delicate material that pantyhose is made of. So next up is storage. This is a part that most people overlook, but it actually matters a lot. So I always recommend to keep your tights in a cool, dark environment. So why do I say that? So essentially, we all know the power of the sun. Any fabrics that are left out in the sun will deteriorate, and nylon is no exception. So for example, I'm sure we've all been there where, you leave a fabric out to dry in the sun and a few hours later that fabric is a completely different color. The same thing will happen to nylon, but you might not see the discoloration. You might just see the deterioration of the fabric. So what I like to do is I usually like to keep my tights in a dark drawer. Yeah, so I just keep my tights in a dark drawer, and I actually use an intimates bag to store them just so they're all in one place. And then, whenever I need to wear tights with an outfit, I just go into that bag and I look to see what I have. And that way I know it's there. So we actually have intimates bags that are Threads branded on our website. You can purchase them, or sometimes we offer them as a gift for orders over a certain amount. So I actually have one here. This is an example of a Threads laundry bag. So what I do is, and I'm kind of jumping ahead now because laundering is the next part, but I keep 2 of these in my drawer. So for one of them, I just keep all the tights in here that are already clean and ready to go. And then I use another bag to kind of store the ones that need to be washed. And then that goes into the laundry, which brings me to the third part, which is washing and laundering. So this is probably the most important step, and also the step where most people do it wrong. So hand washing is the traditional advice that all hosiery brands give to you. But let's be honest, we are all so busy and we don't really have time for that for the most part. If you do, like, great, that's amazing. I'm so in awe of you. But realistically, I'm putting everything in the washing machine. Back with a laundry bag, I just put the tights in here and I put it in the washing machine on a delicate cycle cold. And then once that's done, I lay it flat to dry. So it never put your tights in the dryer. Again, back to what I said about heat and light really disintegrating the material slowly. The dryer will do that. So I usually just lay it to dry. Again, not in the sun, but just like somewhere flat, usually on the laundry rack or anything like that. Also, separate your darks and light colored tights. So if you have black tights, you can wash them all together. If you have nude tights, I would do that separately. And then, if you have specific colored tights, I would do that separately as well. If you want to take it a step further, I would recommend using a laundry detergent that's specifically for delicates or hosiery. So our friends at Soak, they're a Canadian company as well, they make an amazing one. I'll put the link here. But yeah, if you want to go the extra mile and you want to, get extra credit, I would say definitely pick up a bottle of something that's very, designed specifically for intimates, and you can pre-treat it with that before it goes into the washing machine. So if you follow these 3 steps, you are already so much ahead of the curve in terms of taking care of your tights and making them really go the extra mile. I will have to say, so I take good care of my tights again, because I am in business, and my opaque tights, the ones that I got in 2019, and it was part of the first batch when we launched in 2019, I still have them because I take such good care of them. They're kind of just my backup pair that I have in my closet. But yeah, it's 2025 now, so I've had them for 6 years. And yeah, I don't wear them all the time because they are a backup pair. They still are very good. They're in good condition because I take care of them. I would also say that I think one of the reasons a lot of people don't take care of their tights properly is because they just assume they're disposable. And I think by assuming this, it's a little bit of a chicken and an egg thing, because it's kind of like, okay, you assume they're disposable, so you don't take care of them and they don't last a very long time. And then, the cycle goes. So give this a try. If you are not someone who takes care of your tights, just implement like one of these steps and see how it goes. I promise you, it is going to shock you how much longer you can make your tights last. Okay, so our second question of the day, and we get this one a lot, is how do you style tights for the summer, especially nude tights? As you probably know from maybe one of my last videos, I'm a huge believer in that nude tights should look like you're not really wearing anything at all unless you get really, really close. I think that nude tights should just enhance your bare legs, and it should make your legs look like your regular legs, but better. So, kind of with like a filter on it. How does that apply to this question? So basically, this means that I don't really think, and this might be a hot take, but I don't think you should ever really think about nude tights as the focal point of your outfit. I don't really, at least for me personally, style is so personal. But for me, I never think, okay, I want to wear this pair of nude tights. How do I build an outfit around it? I usually just use nude tights as a way to kind of like take my outfit to the next level and take my look to the next level. So what do I mean by that? I definitely do not always wear nude tights in the summer. In fact, I actually probably like kind of rarely wear them now just because of my lifestyle now. I talked a little bit about this in my previous episode, but I'm a toddler mom now. So the things I'm doing day to day are not really like I'm going to the park a lot. I'm going grocery shopping. It's just my lifestyle is I'm not really wearing tights that frequently. However, if I am going to a daytime or even nighttime, more formal event, I will 100% be wearing nude tights. So something like a bridal shower or a baby shower or anything where, you want to look a little bit nicer. If I'm wearing like any sort of summer dress, I will put on a pair of nude tights underneath. And, I think they're also especially useful in professional settings where hosiery is expected. So Back in my corporate days, we would be wearing hosiery all year round. Or, if you're a lawyer, a lot of my lawyer friends need to be wearing hosiery in court. Or if you are in aviation, there's a huge list, but those are just some examples. I have also found that our 50 plus community really, really loves them. And some people in our community have emailed me saying, ever since I've turned 45 or 50 or 55, new tights are a staple. And this is totally just in their own words, but they say that they use new tights to sort of cover up their varicose veins or discoloration, or, we all know that as you get older, we're a little bit more strict about sun protection. So, we're not really going out and like tanning our legs as much as we used to when we were like 15. So it does give you that nice sun-kissed glow. And I'm only 32, but I still wear them in the summer because I have so many scars from playing sports when I was younger, but also like mosquito bite scars, like stuff like that. So yeah, I'm a huge fan, but yeah, I don't think they should really be the focal point of your outfit. They're just sort of like a nice accessory that will take your outfit to the next level. Another question we get is, what about black or pattern tights? I think, black and pattern tights for a night out, there's always a place for them, but I am not going to be wearing black tights or pattern tights during the day in the summer. There's just like very few situations where I'd be doing that. I mean, yes, sheer black tights during the day at work when I was, working in finance, of course, but these days I'm not going to be wearing black tights during the day. Again, this is just my opinion. Style is so personal, and I've totally seen people wear black tights out during the day in the summer, and I've been like, wow, that is an amazing outfit, and it 100% works for them. But just personally, I probably won't be doing that. So our next question is one that we've gotten a few times over the last few months, and it's, will we be restocking some of our styles and sizes that are currently out of stock? So this is a great question, and I totally understand how disappointing it can be when you are looking for a specific style or a specific size and we're out of stock and you're unable to get it. So in a perfect world, we would be in stock on every single size and every single style all the time. But because we are a small self-funded brand that is also relatively new, that's just not reality. I actually find one of the hardest parts of running this brand is the inventory management piece of it. And it's something that I am learning a lot, like every single month. Every single year, we have learnings and takeaways, and we're always trying to get better. So at a very high level, to tell you a little bit more about our inventory management goals and how we think about it, our high level goal is we want to always be in stock on everything, but we also want the stock to be moving all the time. We never want anything to really be sitting in our warehouse. So to kind of achieve that goal, we look at a few factors. So number one is sell through. So how fast or how quickly is this product selling through? And what that means is, how many days is it from the time this product lands in our warehouse before it gets shipped off to you? Obviously, the shorter the time frame, the better. So second factor is seasonality. So when we think about seasonality, we think about when is a product going to be really popular, and when is the ideal time for us to sort of get a restock on that. So for example, nude tights are pretty popular all year round, but black tights are very popular in the fall and winter and not so much in the summer. So these are things that we do take into consideration. Same with, for example, the Celebration collection. Some of you know that was a limited time collection that we launched in October 2024. So a lot of those patterns were really, like the patterns of the moment, and we don't really know if they're going to carry over to next year. So the way we treat products like that is very different from the way we treat like the sheer contour and tan. And the third factor that we really think about is our production minimums. So every time we do a new restock, our factory requires a certain minimum. A lot of it is just like, the minimum amount we need to sort of complete a certain step in the process. Let me just give you an example of that. So one of the steps that our tights go through is dyeing. So after they get knitted and go through that process, we need to dye them. So, this is the part where they get their black color or ivory color or tan color or whatever. This is a very important step, especially for our new tights, because as you know, we have a very specific, I guess, color for every single shade of nude that we have. So in order to really get this color, there needs to be a minimum number of tights in the kind of machine that we use to dye the product. Any less than this number, the color can turn out to kind of be a little bit, too dark or too light or whatever. So it's really important that we kind of get to these minimums. So it's not as simple as saying like, oh, okay, well, we're out of stock, so let's just, replenish with like 500 units. The reality is we have to work with these minimums in order to ensure the quality of our product. So here's an example that takes into account all three considerations. So our sheer to waist tights in black, they are very, very popular in the fall months and the winter months. So that's October all the way to, I would say, February, maybe March. They don't really sell that well in the summer because, people aren't really wearing black tights in the day during the summer as much as they do in the winter. So if we run out of stock on, let's just say 2 or 3 sizes now, we likely wouldn't be able to restock on those sizes until September. And the reason for this is because if we were to do a restock now, the way that the purchase patterns work is that essentially we wouldn't be selling through on a lot of these tights until September anyway, which means a lot of this stock is going to be sitting in our warehouse over the summer months, which is something that we don't want to do. There's just not enough summer demand to justify a full production run right now at the beginning of summer. And products that are sitting in our warehouse is just really expensive for us. And as I mentioned before, we are a self-funded brand by choice. And at this point in our journey, it is just, we have to think about trade-offs all the time. And, hopefully we do get to that point where we can be a little bit more liberal with these restocks and, our community grows and all that. For now, it's one of the trade-offs to being completely self-funded. So on the positive side, we can sort of do whatever we want, and that's good for the brand and based on the feedback of our community and no other third parties. But on the flip side, we do work with these constraints, and inventory management and replenishment is definitely one of them. But I also will say, if you've emailed us about a size or a style that you want restocked and we know for sure we will not be restocking that, we will for sure let you know. We won't say, yeah, sometime in the future. We will tell you this size or this color or style isn't being restocked. Another tip I have is if you see something is out of stock on our website, it's also worth it to go into our retailer or our stockist list to see if they have them in stock. It's very likely that they do because, again, they're dealing with their own inventory management through their stores. So it is possible that something's out of stock directly from us, but you can get it through their stores. And I'm very excited to let you know that we are currently stocked in about 250 independent boutiques across North America. So definitely check out our stockist list and look at one close to you and give them a call because it's very likely that they have that size or style in stock. So that's it for this week's episode of Office Hours. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let us know if you did or if you didn't. We love feedback. If you have a question for a future episode of Office Hours, please let us know in either the comments below, or we also have a question submission link that is in the description. This was super fun, and we would so appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much. Have a great week.